for the greatest show in the history of great fucking shows.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, come on.
Okay, here we are up in studio, Civic Hotel, 48th floor. I'm with my main man, Romeo Roberto. I got J-Bob sitting in the corner drinking rum and cokes. And today's podcast guest is Ali Dee.
Hello.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, how's it going?
So basically, you're a frontline nurse in the trenches, pretty much, would you say?
Yeah, I work for a housing program. Basically, we help people up off the streets, get them off drugs, get them hooked up with services, get them housed, and pretty much their life skyrocket from there.
Nice.
Housing first is something exactly what it says. We believe that people need housing first before they can do anything else. And that's the honest to God truth, because how can you operate, how can you do anything in life if you don't know where you're going to lay your head at night?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is this a government-funded thing?
We are funded by Fraser Health. We're called Rain City ICM, but I like to think we're a little cooler than Fraser Health because we kind of think outside the box. We don't have as many politics to work around, and let's be honest, things that look good on paper don't actually help people out in real life. So I like that about my job.
Awesome. So do you walk around with like Narcan kits and stuff like that, or?
We have Narcan kits, absolutely, but that's not essentially what we're doing.
Yeah.
We just have them on deck in case people drop.
Okay.
But we want to help people with their lives, right?
Yeah.
So whatever they need, whether it be housing, food, mental health support, counseling, OAT, so like methadone, Suboxone, Kadian, anything that's going to get them off the dope so that they can function without thinking about how they're going to get their next hit all day long.
Yeah.
And yeah, getting them linked up with housing is our ultimate goal. So yeah.
And do you do that? Do you like direct them to these people? Like you give them cards or like or...
No, it's a little more structured than that, unfortunately. We work with basically the people who have failed with every other agency in the city.
Oh,
so
wow. So you're taking like the worst cases.
We're taking on the worst cases, the people that are struggling the most, and what we would call in healthcare, maybe the most complex folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just work with them where they're at, and whatever
Wow.
they are down to do, we're down to help them. So they don't have to get off drugs to be housed.
Yeah.
We don't expect that of them, but we definitely encourage them to work on their drug use maybe after they get housed or whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
kind
And
of
what
thing.
areas are you working in?
I work solely in the Maple Ridge area, but we kind of have clients all over the Lower Mainland. So I'm driving out Surrey, Abbotsford, New West, basically wherever they're at. A lot of the time they'll go to treatment. So then I go and see them out at their treatment centers, wherever that might be. Basically just support them wherever they are.
Wow.
But most of our clientele are right in the route of Maple Ridge there, the 223rd and Lougheed block where the
Is it
shelter
getting-
is. And
It's getting bad there again or?
I don't know that it ever got good. Like they had
Yeah.
the homeless camp that burnt down, and
Yeah.
I haven't been with the team long, just since last December, but my understanding is that maybe 90% of our clients came from that camp.
Oh, geez.
So we rehoused a bunch of people from that camp that burnt down, intentionally or non-intentionally. I mean, unfortunately, the residents of Maple Ridge are pretty savage and pretty misunderstanding for these people.
Yeah, for sure.
They
Like-
actually have it's pretty fucked up. They have this page on Facebook where they basically bash them all day long and talk about how they're going to get rid of them and
Wow.
bash anybody who helps them.
Well, I imagine it's frustration. Like a lot of frustration must
Yeah.
sit in when you see your city, like everyone's getting ripped off, people shitting and pissing on the side of the buildings.
Yeah.
We know that, right?
I get
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's all a lack of resources, and
Yeah.
shunning the people, unfortunately, is not going to solve the problem.
No, for sure.
So
So you're on the front lines, you're in the trenches. What do you think the government has to do? Like, is it just dollars or is it like a structure thing?
it's always dollars, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's where the dollars are going. We need more low-income supportive housing. We need housing where these folks can live and thrive and not be expected to fit a certain mold. because they never will. So it's either they stay on the streets or they, obtain some low barrier housing, which is so few and far between. I mean, we have it throughout Surrey too.
Yeah.
The old Howie J down there. If you go down King George towards the Petula, the old Howard Johnson.
Yes.
BC Housing and Mental Health bought that out. So that whole hotel's, low barrier housing. This is the kind of places we need. Like old rundown hotels, just fucking buy up the whole thing.
Yeah.
House people
Get 'em
in there. They can use drugs in there. They can be loud. They can do whatever they want and still have a roof over their head, basically. I wouldn't say whatever they want, but
Yeah.
Yeah, like is there like rules
yeah.
to getting in there? I mean, you can just shoot up drugs and be loud and party your asses off. Like
there's definitely rules, but it's more lenient. And yeah, you can definitely use in there. We encourage safe usage. We don't want people dropping and dying, so they literally provide rooms for these people to shoot up in with supervision, with clean supplies, with Narcan on deck. Like we don't want people sneaking around shooting up.
Yeah, it's not safe.
But do they have
anymore.
it so is the goal to actually get them to not do this anymore, or is it to have a safe place just to do it?
It's both. It depends what they want to do.
Yeah.
If they say, hey, I want to use drugs till I die, then we'll be like, hey, we're here to keep you alive till you use drugs till you die. If they say they want off drugs, then we'll help them that route. We walk with people where they're at. But it's not our agenda, it's theirs.
Does a place like change? Like if it's a hotel filled with people just doing drugs, does the person who doesn't want to do drugs stay in that environment, or do they go to a different part where there's other people that want to get clean and not just continue to do drugs?
I think when someone's truly ready to get clean, it's obviously not ideal that they remain in that kind of environment, right?
Yeah,
there's way too many triggers. There's way too much
Too much action.
temptation, basically, right? But so in a perfect world, I would beeline those people to a treatment center, help them get clean. Some of them you can stay up 6, 8, 9 months.
So what does beeline mean? Like you actually drive them, or you just?
We drive them, absolutely.
No
we
way.
drive them right to the door. We refer them.
Wow.
We come and support them while they're in there. Anything they need. And then potentially I would help them find market housing after that, right? Like we have subsidies, so we help people pay their rent going forward. So if they're in a place where they look like they could maybe handle a market house and they don't need the support or the environment of low barrier housing, then we go that route. And we have a lot of folks that get to that point.
And what is your success rate for someone not just surviving in the area like where you want to continue to do drugs, like you said, until they die?
Yeah.
What's the success rate in someone who wants to get clean and actually stay clean going through your program?
I don't know the exact numbers, but I definitely think we do a really good job. Like a large percentage of our folks get better. I wouldn't know the numbers. I'd have to look those up.
It's gonna be low though,
but-
because just in general, anybody that's trying to get off drugs or booze has a problem. Like the stats are low.
It could be
yes
anything.
and no.
Yeah.
And no, it definitely usually takes multiple attempts
Yeah,
and a
for
lot of
sure.
support.
Yeah.
But people do it,
Nice.
and I've seen it firsthand many times. So.
Like life is tough, right?
Yeah.
Like you can be not wanting to, it's the same as like you're trying to lose weight. If you have a shitty day, well, guess what I'm going to have for dinner? I'm not going to be trying to eat healthy. I'm going to try to eat shit to make myself feel more comfortable.
Exactly. And that's why housing first exists, right? Like we're trying to eliminate those potential stressors for people.
Yeah.
You know, like the less stress, the better. And then obviously the support is really needed. Like you can't just drop someone off and expect them to succeed. You got to go there and, make sure they're doing good every day. What do they need? What are they going through? We want to talk about it. How can we help them?
So like who decides like who gets a room and how long this person can stay there?
Yeah. So the way that it goes down it probably doesn't sound all that great, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
So all the kind of powers that be in the community from all of the different essential services that we have to support these folks all basically sit at a round table. They have their list of folks that they want to bring forward for the suites. We have certain like assessments that need to be completed beforehand. And basically everyone just votes.
Wow.
But you guys are taking low risk.
No,
High risk.
High risk offenders. So
Yeah.
so the bigger drug addict you are, the more chance you have of getting a room and staying there for the rest of your drug life.
No,
I wouldn't frame it like that. I think it's more around, okay, how long has this person lived on the streets? Like, what are their needs? Can we meet those needs?
Is he gonna kill anybody?
Are they fit for that kind of housing? Like, we take into account things. We don't just, it's not based on like how much drugs they use per se.
I just figured it'd be on the other spectrum. Like you would take like people who want to get out and put them in those housing situations and get them, you know, the therapy and everything else that they need.
Yeah, that's more,
you know,
that's more rehabilitation, right? That's more rehab. This is not rehab.
Yeah,
this is just supportive housing. Like we don't expect people to have to get clean to be housed. Everybody deserves a home. Everyone deserves a roof over their head.
I agree with that. And we got a massive problem. Like,
massive.
It's huge.
Massive. Like, I'm absolutely mind blown about how many funds have gone for COVID.
Yeah.
And still, you know, slim to no funds for the opiate crisis and the housing crisis we've been facing for years now.
And thousands of people each year die.
Yep. I mean, the death rates for the 3 months of the pandemic, the supposed pandemic, were triple opiate overdose than COVID.
Wow. So
tell me why all those funds are going to COVID and these people are still dropping on the street every day.
Yeah.
Because we live with an awesome government that does not take care of their own. They'd much rather take care of.
Yeah. I know in Sweden they have a 0% homeless rate. They literally house every single resident of their country, and the end result is actually the government saving a shitload of money, not the opposite.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was at the number 5 Orange. This is a true story. I'm with Shane Forster. I walk outside to take
Sorry, Eddie sounds grimy, Marco.
Yeah. I walk out and I'm on the phone and I see this Native American lady.
Aboriginal lady?
Sorry, Aboriginal, yeah. So she's on the ground and the brother's like, oh, don't worry about it. And like cars are driving around her. And I'm like, that's so fucking disrespectful.
Yeah,
like they're in an
disgusting
alley. So I jump out there and I'm on the phone. I hang up. I'm like, hey, do you need me to call 911? Maybe. Don't worry about it. This is her 3rd time in the.
That doesn't matter. I've had clients who have overdosed 15 times a week. Are we going to sit there and justify letting them die?
No, absolutely.
No?
So I'm on the phone with 911 and they want to know exactly where I am. I'm like, listen, Main Street, fucking number 5 Orange, out the back. Well, we need to know what alley it is. I'm like, just get over here, man. Like, cause like she's breathing like.
Yeah, that's an overdose now.
Yeah. And I'm getting scared because like I've never seen this before. I was shocked, right? The brother is just like, oh, don't worry about it. She's a tough girl. And I'm just like, holy fuck, man.
You know what? Since COVID, the drug supply has gone pretty scarce and it's really shitty quality. And, you know, like meth, for example, is near impossible to get right now. And dope's no better. So it's bad. Like,
and they're just dying. Like a lot of people, even if you give them the Narcan, they're just not coming back.
Honestly, personally and professionally, I've lost so many people in the last 3 or 4 years. I don't even know that I could count them.
Wow.
Like, it's not just in my professional life, it's in my personal life.
Yeah,
right?
affecting everybody. Like, you know, we have friends too that, you know, passed away and it's heartbreaking. And so do you think
it's in like Fent is in everything now, and I always say to my clients, I'm like, well, what do you guys think you're doing now? Like, it's like the 90% buff. There's no fucking drugs in there.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it like when you say you have people that do have overdosed 15 times a week? This might sound bad, but like when is enough for them? Like if they're going to continue to. If they're going to continue to get to that point where they're overdosing all the time, when do you just say, okay, or you get someone who overdoses like that and they're keep coming back, and you get the one person who is deciding to do that alone. I mean, there's people that they're not with people, they're all by themselves.
We just try our
when
hardest.
Is it enough to, okay, well, we can't keep giving these people the Narcan shot or whatever it takes to get them back.
We can and we will.
Yeah.
But then when is that? Is that when
You gotta
they just
understand,
is that
though.
when they just die on their own somewhere and you can't get them back?
Well, we hope it doesn't happen, but of course it happens, right? We just try our best to ensure that
It's just
that
the
they're
numbers.
safe when they're using, right? And that we're there to help them, but there's no limit on how many times we're going to save somebody. And what you got to understand with these people is, you know, I'm really sick of people just being like, fuck them, you know, it's their choice, this and that. Like, I've got kids that were fed drugs when they're from their own mothers when they were like children that, you know,
got addicted,
didn't have a choice or a chance in life, that grew up with fetal alcohol and ADHD and schizophrenia and no support in place. Like, these people don't have a chance. You can judge them all you want, but like at the end of the day, they're so complex, they're so sick, and they're so heavily entrenched and addicted to drugs that stopping is obviously the ultimate goal, but they're so far from it.
It's just too much to actually you don't. It's almost like you don't have enough time to focus just on them. To be able to make them stop. You can only spend so much time on one person, and then you have to move on to the next person.
Right.
Where if you could just, if you had just one person, you could maybe take them and say, okay, this is how you should be.
Well, we don't work like that, though, right? We don't
No.
tell people what to do. We don't tell people what their own agendas are. We say,
That's great.
Hey, doesn't your life fucking suck? Like, don't you want to change? Don't you want, you know, don't you have any goals or aspirations in life? Don't you want to be in a different place? More what we call like motivational interviewing.
Yeah.
Nobody appreciates somebody standing over them, you know, pointing their finger,
Yeah.
saying you're going to do this and that. You walk with the person where they're at. When they're ready to get help, that's when you help them, you know, and until then you just try to keep them alive.
Well, it's kind of like
Wow.
being at work somewhere, and if someone's over your shoulder constantly watching you, you don't. That's when everything fucks up, or when everything is shitty.
Yeah. And
But
that's why I really love our team, because like I said, we think outside the box. We don't come to work in business suits waving our fingers around at people, right? We walk the streets with people. We look for people. We hunt people down. My own doctor comes out with me to shelters, to alleyways, to wherever people need to be
Well,
seen.
and you leave your judgment at the
and
door when you
sees
come
them.
to work.
And
right?
I talk to my clients like I would talk to you guys. I don't talk to them like I'm their superior, like
or
I'm
you're
better than them, or I'm
You're not
judging
trying to
them.
push them down. You're trying
No.
to
Build them up.
Yeah, I talk to them exactly how I talk to you guys.
That's awesome.
But it's like you said, like if you're doing it, if we were here, like us in the room here, if you overdose right now, we would help you.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later, if you overdosed again, you'd help them again.
Yes.
So it's I guess it's human nature to help. Well, for most people anyways, they're going to help. But like I said,
It's funny you say that though, because like Marco's point, people are driving by this woman. Like I feel like our
disrespectful.
society is so jaded now and so judgmental. And then you got the COVID in there. Everyone's scared of everyone. Like you don't see people bending over backwards to help other people anymore. I remember it was like 2 years ago, I was driving home from work and I was like disgusted. I was sick to my stomach at what I saw. I was driving past Guildford Mall. I saw this little old man lying on the sidewalk. His scooter had fallen over and he was lying there helpless. And it was a little old man. And I watched like person after person after person walk by this guy. I watched like 19-year-old or 18-year-old high school kids walk by this guy.
Yeah.
I pulled over.
Yeah.
I got out of my car. Like it was pouring rain. I'm a female.
Yeah.
I don't know how to fix anything.
Yeah.
I got out there. I picked his scooter up for him. I tried to fix it. I got him back on it. I got him home.
Wow.
And I thought, I cannot believe how many people have just walked by this poor little old man and not even thought twice to help. Like, who the fuck's raising these kids?
Yeah, for sure.
me and you had that same thing with that guy on the bus.
Oh, fuck.
You wanted to keep going. You were like, lay on the horn, get this guy out of here. And I'm like, there's something wrong with him, man. Like, we can't just leave him here. And then we pulled him into the truck, and he had like cerebral palsy, MS or something. Yeah. And the bus driver had kicked him out, and then he tried to grab a car late on the horn. He tried to grab onto the windshield, and then we pulled him into the car and drove him down the
he was having a breakdown.
Well, that was nice of you guys.
But that's not
And-
the same
and
as
You don't. You, but
I
you don't
gave
see
him
enough of that.
$20, and I gave him $20.
Yeah, of course you did.
Yeah.
That's something you do. But I
Yeah.
mean, everyone's not like you, so.
That's an edit. We don't need to hear about Marco's generosity.
no.
That's awesome.
No, but his story started out was like, get this fucking guy out of the way. We
No,
gotta get
I thought
going."
he was just like some drunk dude trying
And I
to
was
punch
like,
a
no,
hole
we're
in
not
through the
leave-
window.
I was like, no,
Probably
we're
still
not
give him
gonna
a 20
leave this
spot.
guy.
Yeah.
Not gonna leave this guy in the middle of the road.
That's awesome. Okay, so yeah, it's a tough one because a lot of people, they will say, well, a lot of these guys, they cost society like, $1 million a year because they're getting called out 3 to 5 times a week for either Narcan or like being drunk in a public area. You got the cops, you got the firefighters, like it's expensive.
So figure it out. Do you know that
Get them in the housing.
No, they implemented this
Yeah.
beautiful program in Vancouver that I was really stoked about, and I just got told that Trudeau kiboshed it. It was literally okay because we get people on. What you got to understand about dope is like, as in dope, heroin down.
Yeah.
People cannot stand the withdrawal of that. It is so debilitating. They are so sick.
They can kill them too, I think, right? Or
can't kill them, but it's very unpleasant. Actually, the only thing you could die of withdrawal is alcohol or pills.
oh, yikes.
But like the withdrawal down won't kill you, but it's so like no one can stand it.
Yeah.
You're puking, you're sweating, you're shaking, your whole body's aching, like you just need your hit.
So you want to get high again.
It's not even that you want to get high again, you just can't stand the dope sickness.
Okay.
So that's where OAT comes into play. So we use obviously synthetic heroin like methadone, Suboxone, Cadian, and then again, other countries have implemented these programs where people come and get their OAT every morning and they go to work. They live their lives. They don't have to deal with the dope sickness anymore. They don't have to deal with stealing and pillaging and running around and trying to find paper for their next hit.
Yeah.
Right? It kiboshes all that criminal activity. It kiboshes all that suffering.
And it saves money.
Yeah, and it saves money ultimately. So back to the program, it was a vending machine that would literally, like, the clients could come and they could just stick their card in and out would pop their pharmaceutically approved, like, proper dosage of OAT.
Wow.
Because we, like I said, we give OAT and we prescribe OAT.
Yeah.
But they have to go to the pharmacy every day and pick it up.
That's a pain in the ass.
They're only open at certain hours. When they administer it at the supportive housing, it's only between certain hours. If they miss their appointment with their doctor to get their prescription renewed, boom, they don't have it. There's all these barriers around it.
Yeah.
If they just had these vending
And so
machines,
then they just go to the street and then they get the fucking
the
bad
dope,
shit.
of course. And a lot of them still do the dope along with it until they get to a dose where they don't have to do the dope anymore. You got to slowly climb up. But I'm saying you got to eliminate those barriers.
Yeah.
Right? So the vending machine, a 24-hour accessible vending machine that's pre-structured for each and every individual, exactly what they need, is the most beautiful plan I've ever thought of.
Yeah.
I mean, I work with folks who, like I said, they live on the streets, they live in the elements, they don't take care of themselves, they do dope all day, they don't eat, they don't sleep, they don't wash their hands, they don't shower.
No COVID.
Not one.
Wow.
Yeah, well,
Can I
I mean,
ask
like
you-
I'm sorry. Some people are just freaks of nature, man. When it comes to immunity and
You can look at it both ways, and I've thought of that too, right?
Yeah. No,
I've
but
thought of
that's
that too.
that is pretty suspect though, right? You
It
gotta
is and
think
it isn't, because
maybe they're
like he
exposed to
says,
more of the elements.
their
that
immunity's
immune
high.
system- yeah.
So
I've been
I-
sick for 2.5 years straight.
No, you haven't.
Oh, swear to God. That's
Can I ask
genetic.
a little bit more of a personal story or whatever? How do you deal with when you, like, going to work
Yeah.
and then coming home? Like, how do you deal with what you see? How do you go back and keep going on when you see such, I guess, almost like it's like a car crash or trauma, and how do you keep going forward with
I guess
seeing people if I'm
the
pretty sure
stress.
you see people overdose and not come back.
I honestly have been pretty lucky with that. I haven't dealt with a lot of overdoses, to be honest with you. It's more the shelter staff that have to deal with that, and big props to them. They have a really hard job.
That's tough.
They have a really hard job. Because I'm a psychiatric nurse, my agenda is a little more medication related. So I go out and I give like long acting antipsychotics to people and stuff like that more so. So I'm not exposed to it as much. That being said, I'm exposed to a lot of sad things still, but I think like my passion for the job and for helping the people outweighs like the sadness that I feel with what I see. And
what things are in place if you did have trouble with anything like through your union or your job? What things are in place if like you can
you can go to counseling, you can take a stress leave, all that kind of shit, just like with any union, right?
Yeah.
Or do you take like if you start helping someone and they start succeeding a little bit, like they start progressing,
and that was going to be my last point.
progressing towards more of a healthy lifestyle or getting out of it, and then they revert back to how they were before?
Well, that happens, right? That happens. And you just, like I said, you have to walk alongside the person. You have to expect that because people typically need a couple of attempts to get clean, if not 10, 20, 30 of them, right? Like that's expected. But I think, the other thing I was going to say about how I deal with what I see is that the success stories that you do see, even though sometimes they might be few and far between, they're so incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like if you help one person in 15, it still feels like you're making a difference. And like that means a lot to me.
That's awesome.
Well, it's kind of like dealing with kids, like when your kid does something wrong, they progress a little bit more and then they go back to doing something wrong. Eventually they stop. For the most part, they stop doing it.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And like I said, with the folks that we get, these are people who don't really engage with people. They don't really trust people. They don't really talk to or want to work with people. So sometimes it takes us 3 or 4 months just to get these people into our office or just to get these people to talk to us. Like these people have been through some shit. They're not just going to trust you because you walk up to them. Yeah, right? For sure. So like my ex said, and it doesn't sound great, but it's ultimately true. Is you're basically trying to get a wild animal to come in and work with you, right?
Cat trying to get in there.
So ultimately, it's really just the rapport and the relationship and trust building that's probably like the rock in our whole program.
And you don't give up and you just constantly you're out in the trenches.
And it's taken it takes, like I said, sometimes 6 months to engage these people, but when you talk to them 5, 6, 7 years later, they'll tell you like, I don't know what I would have done without you guys. You guys
awesome.
Saved me.
What type of stuff do you have like for say like females that are out in that area, or like do they get in a little quicker if
Oh, no, I would say not. I mean, there's lots of emergency shelters for women that we can access if they're willing. But typically they're not willing. And to be perfectly honest with you, like a lot of the females that I know that are on the streets or in the trenches, they usually just link on to one of the guys that are out in the trenches and they don't leave their side. They know that they're fucked if they're sleeping alone at night. So they usually have a boyfriend or somebody that they kind of sleep with in their tents or wherever they are, just to make sure that they're okay.
So are you guys like actually like walking up, banging on tents and saying, hey, are you guys okay? Or
sometimes it depends. Like I said, it's
walk us through a day, like what you do say in a day. Like let's do that so that listeners can
I'm not really going out and seeking clients because they've already gone through our whole referral process. They've already been accepted, etc. So I'm basically going and seeing them wherever they're at, whether it be on the street, whether it be at the shelters, whether it be in the modulars, whether it be in their own home. Like my day to day is so different that it would be hard for me to put it in a nutshell. Like my day is never the same. Right. And we have people who live on the streets and we have people who have their own beautiful condos. Like we have people on both ends of the spectrum. So again, just meeting people wherever they're at and making sure we're helping them with whatever they need. We're a fully clinically staffed team. So we have a psychiatrist, we have a nurse practitioner, we have a counselor, we have a nurse, we have healthcare workers. Even if it's just that they need food for the week, like we're getting them food.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Clothing, whatever.
Wow.
So, housing predominantly.
Yeah. Okay, what's your take on like supplying clean drugs? Is that something that the government should move towards, or?
Well, that's again OAT, like
Yeah.
so the synthetic drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yes, I do. Absolutely. I think the ultimate goal is harm reduction.
Yeah.
So you're eliminating the possibility of diseases, obviously using dirty needles and dirty supplies and this and that. But ultimately that you get them on a safe and steady supply so that they can function, and then slowly wean off that. Again, eliminating that painful like day-to-day feeling like, okay, where am I getting my next hit? Who do I gotta rob today?
Yeah.
You know, like we have people who are in really tough spots just because they're trying to get dope, right? Like people will do anything for dope.
Yeah, for sure.
So you can imagine what they go through.
Yo, Marco, like, are you talking about like the government like becoming a drug dealer, like selling drugs to like someone sitting behind a kiosk and I need a half gram of
Or
blow.
you're talking
so-
about regulated, like pharmaceutically approved,
Not just
synthetic
pharmaceuticals.
drugs.
I'm thinking like you got to think of it though. Like,
Yes.
yeah, I I had a couple friends that died of fucking cocaine. So if they want to
Same.
do cocaine, I want to have fucking clean cocaine. So yeah, I want the government to fucking do whatever they have to do and get clean cocaine in here. So I don't want fucking friends that we grew up with, that do coke fucking once a month, blasting a few rails and dying, because I think it's bullshit.
Well, you also get
Yeah,
people that
well-
don't give two shits about that. Where like, well, if they're going to be doing that, then they're running their own risk of.
I
if,
think
if you OD on something and it's your choice, you cannot do it. There's a lot of people that have that attitude where like, I don't care. I don't care if they do that. It doesn't bother me. I personally don't do drugs, but
Yeah.
I mean, like we've had friends that have done it, and
And they're dead.
other people though don't give two shits about someone doing drugs and overdose.
no, and I don't
Until
know
it
about
happens to
government regulated street drugs per se. I think there's other methods where people can remain safe when they're using,
Yeah.
but they just don't think of them. Like
Yeah.
for one, you need to know where you're getting your dope from.
Yeah.
For two, let someone else do a hit before you do, for fuck's sakes,
Yeah.
right? For three, make sure you're with people. Make sure they have naloxone.
Narcan.
It doesn't matter if you're doing a rip or if you're doing a hit a down these days.
Yeah.
There's a potential to drop.
Yeah, it can be
So-
in anything.
Make sure you're not alone, and make sure you have Narcan. And last but not least, you can test your dope. There's
No
there
kits.
are ways to test your dope.
Oh, okay. Because we don't really do the dopes. Right, Robbie?
Nope. Dopes for dopes.
Yeah.
No, I was just looking this up and I was like, holy shit! Like these numbers are fucking staggering.
Hey, what do you
man.
got?
Well, this is this one here is from 2017. Wouldn't allow me to get anything else, but it says 1,400 people.
Per month?
No,
Or
that was
year?
a year. That was the year.
Look up May 2020.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
I know it was like 200-300 a month for a bit there. Is it more than that? Jesus. That's fucking
I think-
crazy.
At least that
That's
anyway.
disturbing.
Yeah, no, it's a huge issue, and I think it outweighs a lot of the other issues
Yeah.
that we are dealing with.
Yeah, my take on the COVID thing is I went into an elevator and I seen some lady had a Fraser Health shirt on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, hey, you in Fraser Health? And she's like, yeah, actually. I'm like, oh, so I just started small talk. I was like, crazy, like, what a weird year. She looked at me and she's like, yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then I was like, well, what's your take on the, the pandemic and stuff? And she goes, well, it's funny you ask. I'm actually on the board of, pandemics or something. And she like with, I won't say with, what's her name? Bonnie Henry. Is it Bonnie Henry?
That's
Yep.
the one.
Yeah, that's the one. So she said, I'm on the board of pandemics. And then she just rolled her eyes. I'm like, whoa. Like, I'm thinking, okay, either COVID is like really crazy and
Or
it's going to
she's
start dropping.
over it.
Or she's over it. So
I think she's over it.
yeah. And here's the funny thing though, right? So she basically says to me, she's like, and this was like probably when it first started. So she's like, so many people have died of the opiate pandemic
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's no money, there's no funds, there's no like, holy fuck, we got to let's tackle this problem. And as soon as COVID comes, it
drained all the money.
Yeah.
That we apparently didn't have for anything else.
Yeah. So
I actually think like people are just getting so nasty about this stuff.
Yeah.
I actually had somebody tell me on Facebook yesterday that I should step down from my career because I wasn't agreeable to take a COVID vaccination.
Wow.
I've never taken a flu shot, and I don't.
Good
I
for
don't
you.
think I've
Nor
ever
would
gotten
I
the flu.
unless I were forced.
I don't think I've ever gotten the flu. I've been sick, but not the flu.
Yeah, you got a good immune system, man. Fucking
Yeah,
guy's
but what
never
did we
sick.
do back in the day, Marco? Did we
Yeah.
take flu shots? Were
No.
we okay?
I'll never take
Like-
one. I'm scared of needles now. So I don't want a flu shot.
I don't love them. I can give them, but I can't.
How about
take
you,
'em.
Rob? You on the flu shot? Would you get a flu shot?
No, I've never gotten one.
Yeah.
I was literally pretty much forced to. So, like,
because through your union.
they can't say forced, but if we don't take one, we have to wear a mask all the time, which now we are anyways because COVID. But
Yeah.
back in the day, I thought, well, I work in psychiatry.
Yeah.
People are paranoid. People are psychotic. It's hard enough to talk to them in the first place. And now I've got to put a mask on my face. I'll just take the fucking shot.
So how long have you been a nurse for?
I've been a nurse for 8 years and I was a healthcare worker for 8.5 years prior to that. So
Oh, wow.
I've been working in mental health and addictions going on 17 years now.
Wow. So you're not.
I
a
know
rookie.
I'm old.
You're not a rookie.
No, it's not my first rodeo, that's for sure.
Wow.
But I spent the majority of my career in Surrey.
Yeah.
And I was a homeless outreach nurse for a while on the strip and stuff like that too.
Oh, like right in Guildford Wally, the strip.
Yeah. And now it's all cleaned up. I can't believe there's no more tents there. It's so weird.
Yeah. They're
Have
all.
you-
Are they in the portables right now?
They're
or-
all in the modulars too.
Ah.
But they're shutting some of them down. And then we've got a fair bit of shelters in Guildford Wally as well.
Yeah.
But I know that they still turn down potentially like 150. I haven't gotten numbers out here for a while.
Yeah.
The last
Well, they're constantly changing.
150 people a night or something like that for a
Oh.
bed. But the ultimate goal would be to house them, not
Yeah.
make them line
That's
up
what
for
I
a
mean, like-
shelter
like-
bed every night, right?
Yeah.
So
And that's got to be, that's got to make them feel. I mean, if you've got to line up every time to get a place,
yeah, it's the shit.
it's not going to make you feel better about
Your
doing
s-
anything,
Yeah.
or
Or even your situation.
you're just going to stay doing the same thing over
Yeah,
and
and,
over
like,
again.
It's not like, I mean, the elements out here are a bit easier. We're not in Alberta. It's not
Yeah.
minus 32 all winter, but it's wet
Yeah.
and it's cold.
Well,
Oh.
I've been out
Like-
working with Brad, and I've said, I know at the end of the night, like it sucks being out here,
Yeah.
and I know at the end of the night we're going home to have a shower
That's
to
right.
get warm,
Oh, yeah.
and they're not, and I always feel bad. Like whenever we drive
Yeah.
downtown, it was other than seeing the dude with the horns on his hat, that it was depressing.
Yeah.
Well,
and
once you
just
get
very-
cold and wet, once your shoes are wet, your socks are wet, your head's wet,
Yeah.
you got that chill, that's going to hit your bone. And
Yeah.
you're
Well,
not
you're
going to
not-
get rid of that.
You're not getting dry just by covering
No.
yourself up. You have to actually be in somewhere where.
Well, we
you're
live in
warm.
Vancouver,
Warm and
Vancouver,
dry.
right? Like,
And-
look
And
at
not
today.
only that, those guys that like are out in those like elements, they are like fucking warriors.
They are. They,
They
really
like,
are.
Oh, like I couldn't. I would not last 2 days. Like
They are very, very resourceful.
resilient,
Yeah.
resourceful, for sure.
Like, but yeah, and you wouldn't believe that the timeline some of these people have been on the street 10, 15 years. Like,
Wow.
Well, and it's not overly hard to end up on the street.
and it's not
Whether
overly
where
hard.
you can have a good job, and then all of a sudden, fucking boom, you don't have a job, and
Yep.
it
Yeah.
doesn't take too, it doesn't
just-
take too
it-
long to.
It's a huge fight not to become homeless. Of
Yeah.
course it is.
It's yeah, and the same goes for mental health and substance use, in my opinion. I mean, mental health, it affects 1 in 5 people, right? And drugs, kind of the same thing. I think if you're just dealt a shitty deck of cards, or like you say, you lose a job, or you have just one downward spiral in life, like that could be you. And that's another reason why it really bothers me, the stigma and the judgment around
Yeah.
these folks, because a lot of these folks used to be sufficient,
Yeah, for sure.
working class human beings with families and children and homes, and they got dealt a shitty deck of cards, and now they're where they are. So why do they not deserve help?
Yeah.
Well, everybody deserves to live a certain, not a certain lifestyle, but everybody deserves to be not living on the street,
Yeah.
not cold, be able to have a roof over your head,
Food to eat,
you shouldn't
clothing
have,
on their back.
That's not a privilege.
No.
That's not a privilege.
yeah.
We're talking basic essentials here.
Yeah.
These are basic essentials: food, water, clothing, housing. Basic.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, when you get all, like the ones that want to continue to do the drugs, opposed to the ones that want to get clean, the ones that want to continue, it like they just still want to keep going down the spiral down? Because I have minimal, very minimal experience with doing drugs. Like I smoked dope a handful of times, and that's not anything like what anybody down there is going through. So I can't relate to what they're dealing with, but I would always, like when I've had drinks, I don't like waking up like if I've gotten drunk, I don't like waking up to a hangover.
No.
I couldn't imagine doing that every single day and then saying, okay, I'm going to do that again.
Yeah. But like I said, the sickness
I'd want to get better. And when I see those people, I want to see them get better. Like I want those people to get out of that and just to drain their body or everything from that fog, haze, whatever they're going to.
But now you got to consider, now, have you been through the trauma they've been through?
Yeah.
Have you,
that's,
like, these people are self-medicating.
Yeah.
Have you been through what they've been through?
So
no, not at all.
And could you...
That's another thing that's...
So it's complex.
It's
this
very
whole thing's
complex.
so complex.
Just putting dope is not how it goes, guys, right?
Yeah.
But that being said, whether they want to stay on the dope or they don't, they should still have their basic necessities met. Food, water, shelter, clothing. And, when we bring up the trauma aspect, a lot more of like the rehabilitation centers and stuff are implementing that really trauma-informed, trauma-centered therapy within their programs.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, if they don't have that, it's not going to be successful. If you don't deal with the underlying reason why these people are using drugs, they will continue to use drugs.
For sure.
Point blank.
It goes back to what I said earlier about how, okay, you have one person, like how many people do you deal with during your day? If every person had someone dealing with them and just them, maybe they could move out of what they're doing. Because like I said, if I'm dealing with this person, then I got to deal with that one, then that one, then that one, then that one. And this person's now back at the back of the line. Yeah. And they might be going through something and they have no way to get out of it.
More resources.
Or more
services.
More services.
More people doing
absolutely.
Doing your type of work.
I'm stretched few and far between with my time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And of course, if everyone had a one-on-one person, that would be a perfect world.
So what's your team like then? Like you were saying that you have everybody from nurses to psychiatrics to doctors. And are you guys mobile where you're going around with everybody as well?
We're all mobile. We're solely an outreach team. So none of our clients, well, there's a handful of them that are reliable enough to come into the office, but most of them we're chasing around.
Oh, fuck.
We chase.
That's crazy. And are some of these court ordered, like where if you don't get the medication to them, they'll go to jail or get?
No, they don't go to jail.
But they get.
How it works in psychiatry, this is now getting into the psychiatry aspect of things. So
this is what I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, if somebody's super mentally ill and they've got no insight, they're never going to take medicine, they don't think they're sick, and they kind of show up at the hospital all the time and pose a significant risk, then the doctor will put them on what's called extended leave, which basically means that they're court ordered by law to take an injection from me. And it's a long-acting injection, so they can take it from anywhere from 2 weeks to a month, and it'll last, versus taking a tablet every day, because we know they're not going to do that. Yeah. So a huge part of my job is that.
Wow.
I have a very lengthy list of folks that I chase around the community that I give injections to on a bi-weekly to monthly basis, and they don't want the injections, and a lot of them are violent. So it's all about catching them on a good day, and it's more so about developing the relationship and the trust and the rapport. So I try my best to not see people just for injections. I see them, on weeks when they don't have injections. And I make sure that they know, hey, I'm not just here to give you a shot. I'm here to help you. I actually care about you.
Yeah.
What do you need? And that helps a lot in me getting that injection into them.
But they're just sent out on their own to remember when they have to do this?
No, I have to chase them.
She chases them
And
in
if
the
they,
alleys and stuff.
and so that's another thing that's really unique
Yeah.
of our team, is that the Mental Health Act is very cut and dry. If you work in the mental health center, you've got 80 or 90 clients per nurse. So you don't have the time. You're not chasing people. If they don't come for their injection, they're getting warranted. The cops will get them. They'll
Wow.
take them to the hospital to get it like immediately. Whereas I have the leverage to be like, okay, if you don't want it today, I'll come back tomorrow. If you don't want it tomorrow, I'll come back the next day. If you fuck around for a week, I'm going to have to warrant you. But I'll give you a day or 2 or 3, and that's what's unique about our team.
Can I ask another question here? How many people that you work with do the same thing, like go out and see the people when they're not getting their injections? Like, how that's more of a personal thing, like you're personally doing that on your own to see them. How many people take this as this is just a job, so I'm going to be here and do this? If they're not around or if I can't find them, I'm not going to bother.
Myself and the other nurse on the team are the only ones doing injections. So the entire other majority of our team is doing everything else but injections. And we don't give up on people at all. We look for them high and low until we find them.
And does everybody that you work with do the same thing?
Yes.
That's really good.
Yeah, we all do the same work. The only difference is that I deal with the mental health component of things, the medications and the psychiatrist. But other than that, we're all doing the same work, going out and supporting people where they're at with anything they need.
It's really good because at a regular job, like you'll see some guys will go above and beyond. That was what would be going above and beyond, I guess.
Yes.
Where if you're at a regular job, you're just doing, I'm just here to do this. I'm not going to do any of the extra stuff. So there you go.
Yeah, and that happens in this industry, absolutely, like in mental health and addictions, because there's not a lot of people watching you. You kind of make your own schedules when you're working out in the community, doing outreach and stuff like that. Nobody's got a tracker on your car. They don't know where you are. They don't know what you're doing. But I will say 150% that every single person I work with on my team busts their ass. They're not out screwing around. They're helping people all day, every day. And
So
I'm like super grateful for that, because I've worked with these Slack people before.
The majority of the people you work with are doing
all of them,
the above and beyond or the extra work. They're not just doing it as a job.
No.
Okay, I'll just go to work and I'll whatever. I'll just do what I have to do.
As I said, like I've been in the field 17 years, and this is by far probably the best, most enjoyable job I've had. Most supportive team, most hardworking team. Like, we kill it out there. Everybody knows us. Everybody wants to be our client. Everybody knows we do good work.
So just on a closing here, what do you think, or what are you gonna say to the guys out there that are being dickheads and treating these guys like pretty disrespectfully, like homeless or drug addicted? Like online, you can go on Facebook and within an hour you can see people just throwing pictures up of these guys, calling them scumbags, losers. Like, there's no compassion. What do you got to say to these guys that,
Like, nothing gets me heated more than that, to be honest with you, than people kind of filming people who are high or flailing on the street or struggling. Like, it's not funny to me. Like, that's somebody's wife, sister, father, brother, whatever. Like, I had my dad on the streets of East Hastings running around smoking crack. I know how that feels. If you don't know how that feels, well, then you're lucky. Right? And as far as I'm concerned, I understand why people are upset. I understand why they want their communities clean. I understand why they don't want their children to witness that. But at the same time, I'm not into keeping people in a bubble and ignoring a massive situation that needs help. And you can judge, ridicule, shun these people all you want, but guess what? The problem's not going away. It's only getting worse.
Absolutely.
And until you back down and have some empathy and some courtesy and some understanding for these people and reach your hand out and compassion. Thank you. Reach your hand out, help these people. The problem's not going to go away. We as a community have to tackle the problem point blank, or it's not going away. So if you have that much beef with the problem, really your approach should be like, how can I help these people and get them out of my community and housed and off the street and stop bothering me and stop robbing me and stop showing my children an alternate life I don't want them to see.
Yeah.
But posting them on Facebook and shunning them and ridiculing them and making fun of them, and it's just not the answer.
Yeah.
And understand that that could be you, that could be your family member, that could be your loved one. Like we already talked about, any wrong turn in life, any bad deck of cards, any, tragedy
trauma.
or event trauma in your life that's going to pop off. Like, don't think that you're exempt from that.
No, absolutely.
Don't think that, people who are better off in life who look down on these people, I'm like, get the silver spoon out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Because if you grew up where we grew up, you would know.
Yeah.
It takes a small stretch to go from being where what people would think of normal people are to being there.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think on that note, that's a very good way to end it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This is
great.
Definitely.
You know what? Really appreciate coming out, and you're doing an awesome job out there. You're in the trenches. You're going, every day helping people, and I think a lot of other people should step up and start helping instead of.
I agree.
Thank you
for that. Thank you for that. There's a lot of us out there helping, but we can always use more people on deck, absolutely, to help these people. You can't have enough help for these people at this point.
Yeah,